Hello there, gorgeous people. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Patrice, and today, baby, I have some juicy Reddit stories for you. So grab your beverage of choice and let us get started, all right? Earrings today are a coffee cup. It is cold outside and you need a little warmth, okay? So, ready. First story comes from True Off My Chest. This one is 5 hours. 5 hours ago it posted. So you know this one is piping hot, all right? I have a family shattering secret about my uncle slash aunt, and I want so badly to drop the bomb and ghost. All right, girlfriend, let us hear what you have to say, all right? She says, I'll try to keep this short and will likely delete this later, but I just need to type it out, all right? When I was around 6 years old, my favorite aunt started dating a new guy. He came around a lot, and my family seemed to like him. He would sometimes bring his son from his prior marriage around with him. I didn't particularly like this kid. He would whine and cry a lot, but he was only around 3, so I guess that was normal for his age. Anyway, fast forward a couple years, and my aunt moves back to my uncle's home country with him. After a couple of years, they get married, and after a few more, have 2 kids. They came back and forth a lot to visit, and after about 8 years abroad, they decided to move back to the States. Cool. Kids are growing up and the world is moving on. During college, I lived with them on and off because they were close to my school. One day, out of the blue, I remembered my uncle's first kid. I casually just asked my aunt when we were alone what the hell happened to him and why we don't see him anymore. She immediately went red. You don't ever bring him up in this house again. Understand? If you bring this up around family, I will kill you. And okay, all right, hold on. If you bring this up around the family, I will kill you with my own 2 hands. I never wanted that kid in our lives, and bringing it up now will ruin everything, so keep your mouth shut. The worst part, my uncle's ex unalived herself 10 or so years back, and his son was left homeless. I tried to reach out and help, but couldn't get a hold of him. Saddest of all, he ended up addicted to God knows what, and last I saw of him was a mugshot in the Bay Area. He accosted an older gentleman who found him sleeping in his bushes. It just breaks my heart that this little boy I remember is now in this horrible place in his life because my disgustingly selfish aunt and uncle couldn't bother to include him in their lives. My little cousins don't know they have a brother somewhere out there and that my aunt and uncle knowingly abandoned him. This knowledge has made me resent them ever since. I'm child-free, but couldn't give my ducking dog up, less yet my own child. I hate my uncle the most because he's hypocritical. He's a hypocritical monster who's really great at buying people's geniality, but has a nasty temper and turns into a psychopath when he snaps. My mom and dad remembers this kid, but they don't say a word to keep the family peace. I know that if my cousins found out, they'd be shattered. They're good kids. Recently, my uncle was cheering on the mass deaths of people in the Middle East and also talking about how happy he was that everything going on in America right now, even with the children being ripped from their families and jailed. Hearing that made my blood boil, and now I just want to announce his dirty secret to everyone so his ass can be exposed. I come from a very tight-knit family who I know would look down on him for this. They ruined the life of an innocent child to be where they are at, and I just feel like they deserve for it all to burn down. If I did this, I legitimately would be in fear of my life. My uncle and aunt don't play about their family, and I 100% believe they would try to kill me if I expose them. OP, I don't think this is as big of a secret as you think. You say that your mother and your father know about it, but they're trying to keep the family peace, and you say you have a tight-knit family. A child just does not disappear like that, and people don't ask questions. Your family know. I'm sorry to be the one to break it to you, but I feel like everybody know, but because again, you fear for your life and you know how your uncle and your auntie are, I think everybody else is. No. Have other people asked questions? They probably have. I don't think they might have looked into it to find out that he's in the Bay Area and that, his mom passed and stuff like that. But I'm quite sure people have asked and they probably told some form of lie. But a kid that was in your lives before just does not go vanishing like that and nobody asks questions. Or everybody in the family already knows, and everybody's just keeping it hush hush for fear of their lives, just like you said. But yeah, that's all I have. I would say if you're fear for your life, don't say anything, because I don't think what you think, if you were to talk about it, it will not have the reaction that you think it would, in my opinion. Your parents know, your grandparents probably know, your other aunts and uncle probably know, because you probably say something, then they're like, well, girl, we know a baby just don't go missing and nobody asks questions. Now, I will say that the dad is evil, okay? The fact that your firstborn is somewhere out there and you don't care, it don't matter if you build a brand new life or you think the kid, I don't know. I don't know. Because at first, the kid was in your life before you met this woman, and he seems like one of those men who went and threw away everything because he met this new shiny woman, and now he's moving to America. He didn't say where they were from, but now he's moving to America. And again, it doesn't seem like he cares much about human suffering or anything like that, because you're saying the climate now in America, he is cheering that on. Kids being ripped from family. This man has absolutely no heart. And I think if your aunt was supposed to say something or do something, I feel like she would get her butt whooped. I'm just saying, your aunt is probably there. She probably evil, but she probably can't say anything about it either, because she probably fear for her life and safety and her children's safety. But let's see what the comments have to say. All right, someone says, people who abandon their own child and then act morally superior are the worst kind of hypocrites. This is one of those situations where there's no clean ending. Whatever you choose, you are not the villain here. OP says, yes, that's the word, morally superior. One time my uncle was speaking in praise of my own abusive father, who he looked up to for not abandoning our family, because that's what men did back in our home country all the time. And I just stared at him blankly, because what he said was not only insanely disgusting, it was also what he did to his own family. I was like, are we all just going to gloss over this? That's what I'm saying. Your family knows, OP. All right, somebody else says, you could come from an angle of concern for your aunt's bio children. Just be very distraught about their future, and you just had to say something. Because if he did this to his own son, what will he do to his other two children? I love them so much, blah, blah, blah. At least that way, the rest of the family is more likely to defend you. Also, you could ask your own parents what happened to the kid, and then after finding out what they know, slip in how worried you are. And then spread the convo from there, so it's not like a big scene, but everyone knows before they know the family knows. His kids are grown now and in their 20s. I think the safest way to do it is to email my cousins from an anonymous email or something like that. If my aunt dies before my uncle, then I will for sure let them know, because I don't care about my uncle at all. The only reason I haven't let it rip is because my mom is so protective of my aunt and is always trying to keep the peace. I just don't want to hurt my mom with all this mess. Everyone else can duck off and die. I don't care. All right. Someone else says, then approach your mom first, but maybe gently. Hey, I remember some kid a long time ago. Can you remind me who he is? And then if she doesn't know, maybe recruit her so she feels more in charge. Also, this is kind of a big thing to carry alone. Mom might help. OP says, oh, my mom knows and is equally as resentful. She just wants to keep the peace and doesn't want her sister / my aunt to be collateral damage in this. I love my mom, but she cannot handle family turmoil. All right. Lastly, someone says, your aunt isn't collateral damage. She's equally responsible. Why are you protecting her? She abandoned a child that was legally and morally hers. It's just as much her fault as her husband's. In fact, it may be more her fault. She screamed she didn't want him. Perhaps she's the evil stepmother who made her husband get rid of the kid. You're fooling yourself to protect your emotions. Your aunt is a monster too, and so is your mother / father and all the other relatives who stood by and watches. Your whole family is terrible. That's kind of mean. I get what you're saying, because I do believe everybody knows, okay? Well, let's see what OP says. OP says, this has dawned on me as I've gotten older. I don't blame my mom at this point, as I'm just as much as a coward as her by not speaking up. Our family is so close and we look after one another through thick and thin. So knowing he just abandoned his kid like that makes me ill. Oh, Lord. You know what? Let me save this story just to come back to it to see if there's an update in the future, and I'll come back and let y'all know. All right? All right, so the next story comes from r/true off my chest. This one says, my husband left me because I wasn't jealous enough, when in reality, I just trust him and our marriage. Interesting. All right. Having a logical mind is detrimental to relationships, especially if it comes from the woman. My female 40, husband 40 male, told me that he was leaving me because he didn't feel loved by me. We have been together for 10 years and married for 7. They've been the best years of my life because I have never felt so loved in my life, and I loved him so much and still do, even though he is leaving me. I don't think I will love again or even want to. Oh, don't say that. Don't say that. You never know. This might not be your forever, right? Just have hope, okay? He is very handsome, and I have been living with the fact that he attracts so much attention from women. When we are together, I am practically invisible for the women, even in our own circles. At parties with some alcohol, it becomes in the open the way they want to hit on him. In the beginning, I found it to be very difficult to swallow, but I am a very calm person and I was aware that he would attract attention, and very soon I realized it didn't matter what kind of attention he got, but how he reacted to it. And he proved me right. He had no interest back in them. My love and trust for him got stronger, and I trust him with all my heart because I truly know his heart. He's a brilliant and confident man. He would never cheat on me, not only because he respects me, but because he respects himself even more. I became even more confident and calm around people hitting on him. I never react and let him handle it. The topic of jealousy was brought up by his friend once, and after some discussion, I made it clear that I do not get jealous because of the simple fact that I wouldn't have been together with a man I didn't fully trust. I think since that day, my husband found a side of me that he didn't like because he brought up this topic again from time to time. My answer was always the same. I thought it only solidified how much I loved and trusted him. For him, it was unflattering stoicism because I could be a very warm person otherwise. I never understood what he meant because I didn't recognize his description in me or my personality. My mistake was to ignore it instead of trying to understand him. My mind said that I didn't do anything wrong and therefore wasn't reasonable for whatever he was trying to emphasize. Then we had an incident at the gym where a girl started to stretch where my husband was doing push ups, and she literally had her butt 20 centimeters from his face. I was looking the whole time in shock, and when my husband looked at me appalled, I just smiled at him and shook my head in disbelief. He moved to another spot. After we left, he was very angry with me and asked me why I didn't do anything. What would I have done, I asked, and he said I could have made it clear that he was my husband. I told him that she knew we were together. Besides, what she did was inappropriate, no matter if he was single or married, and asked him why he didn't tell her. But for him, he was more upset about my lack of reaction than a girl disrespecting him. I asked him what? You wanted me to have a cat fight with a girl half my age in the gym about a man I know I trust? He was very angry about my ridiculing of the situation. I told him that I loved him with all my heart and losing him would be devastating for me, but that I trust him and that it was a good thing. Then 2 weeks ago, we were at a dinner party with some mutual friends, and one of the women, a friend of my husband's sister, had a fling with my husband when they were in their late teens, early 20s. I never liked this woman because she was always trying to get my husband's attention, so I have ignored her every time we met. This last time, she was telling some of us at the table how she dumped my husband when they were young, something she brought up every time. I didn't say anything as usual, but this time she pressed on speaking directly to me that if she really wanted, she could have taken him any time. I didn't say anything because my anger was boiling over and I just shook my head. When she pressed on, I calmly told her that if she could just take someone, then he's not worth having to begin with, and that she would be making me a favor. No, what I meant was that my husband wasn't somebody's to take or give because he is a decent man with his own will and that I trusted him to be with me because he wanted to. He didn't take it this way. He took it as I didn't care if he left me for another or not. In my mind, if he wanted to leave me for another, nothing would change that, and people never been stopped from doing that before. We had one of our worst fights that night, and I should have just apologized and pretended to be jealous, but instead I tried to explain the logic instead. It was probably the last straw for him. He said that he didn't love me anymore. I told him that I never stopped loving him, but that if he had fallen out of love with me, then I couldn't do anything about it. He shook his head in disbelief and said, "That's all? What could I do when someone doesn't love me anymore? Force him to? Make him? Even if I wanted to, I wouldn't even know how, so I said, yes, that's all." I have been crying since he told me this. My tears never dry. I never knew so much pain was possible. It feels like my heart is swollen in my throat and at the same time shriveled up into a husk. Oh, poor OP. Oh gosh. OP, this man has fallen out of love with you. I'm sorry. It's either your husband wants to be the prize. Like you say he's handsome and people hit on him all the time and all the things. Your husband wants to be the prize and you are not giving him prize attention. He wants to be the trophy husband and you are not giving him that. You are not stroking this man's ego and he doesn't like that. Because here's the thing. The example that you gave in the gym, right? If you had went to this girl and be all catty, oh, that's my husband, why are you in front of him, blah, 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 you're going to look silly. You're going to look like you are jealous. You're going to be like the jealous person. You're going to look insecure. You're going to seem bothered, okay? Right? Why does he want you to stand up for him in that matter? What does that do for him? Is that an ego boost? Because if someone is squatting in your face, you're like, hey, that's disrespectful. I'm going to need you to move. Point blank period. Why does your wife need to come show that that's my husband? That makes absolutely no sense to me. Okay? None whatsoever. And then with the past their ex-girlfriend talking about, I dumped him, I could have gotten him back whenever I wanted and all this stuff. I think your response was just fine. You should have said something because she was disrespecting you, but not picking up for him. I think what you said is just fine. And people can fight or argue with me in the comments. The reason is I am OP. I am that person. I am the person who I am not going to be arguing over a man, whether you're my husband or not. I am not a jealous person. I am not a confrontational person because of a man, right? With the young lady at the dinner that was talking about how I could have him whenever. No, I would have spoken up to her. Not saying, are trying to talk about, he would be with me if he wanted. But like, I ain't trying to do that. I would have been like, no, you're just disrespectful. Okay? What are you trying to prove? Like, you're disrespecting me at that point. I don't care about this man. You and him had a past and you probably have something going on now why you keep bringing it up or you want the man. Have nothing to do with me, okay? He's a grown man. He can leave whenever he wants to. It's not that you don't love him, but this is logic. This is fact. I cannot keep a man, okay? Him being with me is his choice. And if you come and say you're stealing him, that just means he wanted to go with you. OP, I am on your side. I'm sorry that your heart is broken, that you're in this. But this man wants someone to praise him. This man wants someone to give him the highest praises. And that's just not you. Even when you're in this breakup, you're like, well, that's it. Like, I ain't trying to fight for you if you don't want to stay. And if that is what he's like, I don't love you anymore. If that is what made him fall out of love with you, this man never in love with you to begin with. Or he might be cheating. He probably have somebody else. Or he has grown resentment over time for you not putting him on a pedestal, fighting for him, being catty over him, all these things. This man wants to, he's the prize, girl. You say the man handsome, the man is the prize, and you are not praising him. This man ego is stressed out because of you being so nice and calm. Okay? You've been together for 10 years and I'm quite sure you have not changed in the 10 years. So why no? He's like, this is it. This is a straw that broke the camel's back. You don't love me. I need you to show me that you love me by being jealous I guess maybe his love language is words of affirmation, and then he needs you to affirm your love in public for him, and he needs you to show it by showing your dominance on other females, right? You need to show them that I am yours, and I think that is probably his love language. Maybe that is it. I cracked the code. I feel like I cracked the code. Maybe that is it, OP. And because of your personality, for you it's like, no, and I'm there with you because I am not that person. I would not, I will never be that person. I am, if my husband went to the gym and someone squat in his face and he said nothing about it and then talk about I should have said something to the girl, sir, I would have rolled my eyes so hard at you and walked out. Like, it ain't my face. If she was squatting in my face, I would have been like, miss, shoo, you're too close. But I'm not going to be embarrassing myself in the gym. People probably bust out camera starting to film me. These two ladies arguing. Sir, stick up for yourself. No. Let's see what the comments have to say. Would he be open to couples counseling before calling it quits? It sounds like a massive miscommunication is going on to explode your marriage. It's worth a shot. Someone else says a painful but practical suggestion. This sounds like a deep communication breakdown. Counseling might help translate your trust into the emotional reassurance he seems to need. OP says, I am looking for a therapist myself because I am not feeling well, or not. She meant what? Not. I am looking for a therapist myself because I am not feeling well. Maybe divorce can be easier with a couples counselor. All right. Somebody else says, I followed your logic until this moment. I agree you can't stop your partner from cheating. You can't stop every girl from flirting with him. But this argument is just between you two. Y'all are misunderstanding each other. So you guys are the ones who can make this work out or not. Def get some counseling to help with the communication. But this is where you fight. Fighting doesn't mean forcing him to stay with you. You obviously can't do that. But you can be honest about how you feel. Did you ever say that you would get jealous in the beginning but felt more secure when you saw how well he handled himself in these situations? Did you tell him how devastated you are about this loss right now? Man needs to know that you care, and you obviously do, but you're not making it clear to him. I don't think OP is not making it clear to him. It just seems like he wants it public. OP doesn't give me any inkling or indication that she does not care about him or she doesn't show that she cares. He just wants it publicized and he wants her to show it in front of the friends or when another woman is there. That's how he wants her to show it. That's it. It doesn't seem like in the relationship, OP does not. He wouldn't have been with her for 10 years if she did not show any kind of care for him or love for him. It's just the part that he needs it publicized, and I don't understand that part. But yeah, I will link this story down below. You guys can go read. OP has she replied to a lot of comments. But yeah. All right, next story. Okay, so the next story comes from r/am I the jerk. Am I the jerk for refusing to let my brother take my late mom's house because he needs it more than me? My mom passed away last year and she left me her house in her will. It's a small, cozy place, but it's been in the family forever, and I've always felt connected to it. I live in a different city right now, but plan to move back eventually and make it my forever home. My older brother, 35, came to me saying he wants to move into the house because he needs it more than I do. He just got divorced, has a kid, and renting is too expensive. He also kind of hinted I should let him have it since I live elsewhere. I told him the house was left to me and I'm keeping it, even if it takes me a few years to move back. He freaked out, calling me selfish, saying I'm prioritizing a sentimental fantasy over his family and not honoring mom's memory. My parent estate lawyer says, legally I'm fine, but now he's not talking to me and is whining to the rest of the family. I feel like I'm being reasonable. I didn't change the will. I'm not kicking anyone out, and I plan to take care of the house like mom would have wanted. But my brother keeps saying I'm the bad guy. You're not the jerk. If mama wanted him to have the house, she would have willed it to him. I think your mom knew to you would mean more and you would keep it in the family. She probably thinks that with the brother, and if she had given it to him, no, he's divorced. I don't know when his divorce became final, that would have become collateral damage in the divorce. He might have had to split it. I don't know the laws of where you live, but along those lines. Um, you could rent it to him, like for a lower rate until you move, but I feel like you're going to have an issue getting him out or getting rid of him at that point. I don't think he's going to want to leave. So I would say not to rent it. Keep up on the taxes and keep up the house until you are ready to move back. You're not the a-hole. You did not say what he was willed. Like, I would think that you got the house and mama probably left him something else. Is he sharing his inheritance with you? Mm? He sounds kind of selfish and he needs to figure stuff out. I don't know what caused his divorce, but he cannot put all of that stress and guilt on you for decisions he has made in his life. So let's see what the comments have to say. Someone says, not the a-hole. Your mom knew what she was doing when she wrote that will. If she wanted your brother to have it, she would have left it to him instead. Your brother sounds like he's going through a rough patch, but that doesn't mean you have to give up your inheritance. Maybe offer to let him rent it for you at a fair price if you're feeling generous, but you're definitely not obligated to just hand over your mom's house. While I agree with that, again, renting it to the man might be an issue in the long run. And OP replied to that and says, exactly. I get he's struggling, but I didn't inherit the house to solve his problems. All right, go OP. Someone else says, very true. Don't rent it to him either. He may be sour and force you to evict him later. Also, if he's sour, there's no telling what sort of damage he may do to the property. See, that's what I said. Somebody else said this, the fact that he's talking trash about you to others is all the proof you need of how he treats you and the house if you let him live there, or at least live him. All right, someone else says this, the fact that he's talking trash about you to others is all the proof you need on how he treats you and the house if you let him live there or at a deeply discounted rate. All right. Oh, somebody else says, because this was my curiosity. This is what I was thinking too. Out of curiosity, what did your mother leave him? Somebody else says, that's what I was wondering. But OP did not respond to that. Okay. Let me see if there's an update to this one. Let me see. No, there's no update. Okay. All right. Next story. So this next story comes from r/off my chest. All right, this one is titled, My Husband is Okay. She doesn't seem like she like him very much. All right. This says, with ICE doing their job, I told him about the killings and brutality of ICE and he just shrugged it off. He said they're doing their job and people shouldn't stop them. That's why they get killed. They put themselves in that situation. He doesn't care about anything that's going on with ICE. He surrounded himself in this little bubble at work and gaming friends. He refuses to watch any videos about ICE. Facts about him. He works in a black-owned company. He loves working with Hispanic people because they're great at their job. He's a second-generation immigrant, born and raised in the U.S. by immigrant parents. Me, his wife of 10 years, is also an immigrant. Came to the U.S. in 2013. I'm a permanent resident and can apply for citizenship this year. We've been working in jobs heavily populated by immigrants from different parts of the world. He is surrounded by immigrants. With those facts about him, you would think he'd be seriously against ICE, but no, he doesn't care. He'll be one of those that start to care only when something happens near him. I'm really sad and heartbroken. And then she signs it, docu, good night, with a sad emoji. Oh, that is so sad. Like, I can understand, like, you're married and you are, the empath, you're keeping up with the times and you empathize and sympathize, especially because you're an immigrant with what's going on and it's heavy on your heart. And then you have a partner who just does not care, just does not care. It's not affecting him. And yeah, just gives a blind eye to it. Unfortunately, that is a lot of immigrants right now. I'm not saying majority or anything like that, but there's a lot of them living in Florida. There are people who voted against their best interest. They're immigrants. They had undocumented family members and they voted against their best interest. So I'm not surprised at this. It's just one of those things. If it's not affecting them, they don't care. They're talking about, oh, if they're here illegally and da 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 da, and they're criminals and all the things. But a lot of their family members are not criminals, right? And people act as if, to be fair, if you're born in the United States, people are, you would not, or sometimes, pure ignorance, don't understand the immigration process. And it's not just as simple as, oh, why didn't you become a citizen? Why didn't you become a permanent resident? It is so much work, so much loopholes, paperwork, money, time. It's just a lot. And as an immigrant myself, okay, I was born in Jamaica. I am here legally. I am now a U.S. citizen. I understand the struggle. I understand the what it takes to become a permanent resident, what it takes to become a citizen, and I empathize, sympathize with everything that's going on with ICE, and I would not want that on my worst enemy, just to have your kids ripped from you. You're not safe going to school. The poor children. I saw this little kid being detained from school. This hands placed behind him. This little kid was probably 5 years old, born here, doesn't know any better. And it's just inhumane how people are being treated. So people are just not going to care. It's not affecting them. And when it does, they're going to be asking for all the help and sympathy and blah, 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 blah. It's just one of those things. And I feel bad that you have a partner like this. But don't let that make you, turn a blind eye to what's going on. And, you know, keep being sympathetic and empathetic and do all you can. Let your voice be heard as much as you can and in ways that you can help. But do not become dehumanized or desensitized because of, your husband or family members or anything like that. So that's what I got. But let's see the comments. Most immigrants I know are pretty conservative leaning. A lot of people I've seen who worked to get here or come from a family of immigrants are actually not anti-ICE. So no, him coming from an immigrant family does not surprise me. Someone else says the book, The Jungle by Upton Sinclair, is still very relevant to the U.S. immigration experience today. Most know it as the book that sparked the creation of the FDA due to its depiction of the horrifying conditions in the meatpacking plants. But most of the book addresses how immigrants are taken advantage of by greedy capitalists. Yup. I think another thing too is a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, illegal immigrants, undocumented people, whatever. But if people knew what it takes for them to live their cushy luxury lifestyle and just to be able to go to the supermarkets and buy strawberries or blackberries or your fruits, I think people would wake up. A lot of farmers voting against their best interests because, the things were promised to them and realize the workers that you have working on your farm are undocumented. And when ICE came and took all of them, a lot of people are losing their farms that way, right? It takes undocumented workers to pick those strawberries and blueberries. Why? Because U.S. citizens and legal residents, they don't want to go pick strawberries for 12 hours a day for $5 an hour or less, right? Nobody wants those jobs. And at least citizens don't want those jobs. So immigrants take those jobs. But a lot of people are just so ignorant to how, how the back end of things work. Like some of those strawberry farms, can they afford to pay 10, 12 or minimum wage workers? No, they'll be going out of business, and which is what some of them are having to do. They get workers who are out in the sun for 2 hours. They have to stop working because they cannot do it. So it's just one of those things, you either have a heart or you don't. Just one of them things. Yeah. Okay, so this next story comes from r/ would I be the a-hole _ am I the a-hole? Okay, it's a new one for me. Am I the a-hole for telling my mom she can't move in with us even for a little while after she got divorced? I, male 30, and my fiance, female 29, and I bought a small house last year. We're not rich, it's just a basic place with a tiny yard, but it felt like we finally got our footing. My mom, female 56, recently finalized her divorce from my stepdad. It was ugly. Lots of crying, phone calls, lots of I gave him my best years. I tried to be supportive without getting pulled into the middle because she has a history of turning every crisis into a permanent situation. She's very religious, very family is everything, and also very good at making her wants sound like moral obligations. Last week, she called me and said she can't afford her apartment anymore because the rent went up and she needs to regroup. Then she hit me with the line I knew was coming. I'll just stay with you two for a bit until I'm stable. She said it like it was already decided. I asked what a bit means. She said, "Oh, don't be dramatic. Just a few months." I asked where she'd sleep. She said the guest room and then started talking about what furniture she'd be bringing. Like she was planning a move in day. Okay. I told her we can help her look for a smaller place or a roommate situation with a friend from her church. She got quiet and said, "I'm your mother. I shouldn't have to beg." Here's the context that makes me feel both guilty and also 100% sure. When I was 22, I let her stay with me after she had a fight with a boyfriend. It was supposed to be 2 weeks. It became 4 months. She criticized my cooking, my cleaning, my friends, and she kept leaving little devotional books on my desk like passive aggressive landmines. She also had this habit of just asking questions that were really accusations. Why does your girlfriend dress like that? Do you think you'll ever be a real man if you let a woman run your home? When I finally told her she had to go, she cried and told the whole family I kicked her out. My aunt didn't talk to me for a year. So, yeah, I'm not doing that again, especially not now that I'm building a life with someone I actually want peace with. My fiance is kind, but she's a fixer. When my mom called her directly after I said no, my fiance listened and then told me, "Maybe we can do a strict timeline. It's your mom." I said no, because timelines don't work with my mother. She treats them like suggestions, and then you're the villain when you enforce them. My mom then started texting me Bible verses about honoring your parents. Your mom is manipulative. One message literally said, "A good son would not let his mother struggle." That one made me see red. I replied that I'm not abandoning her. I'm saying she can't live with us, and I'll help in other ways. She responded, "So your wife comes first now?" I said yes, because that's the point of getting married. You should have hit her with the Bible verse, bro. You gotta play chess with her. She told me I'm choosing a woman over family and that she prayed I would never turn out like this. Now my fiance feels caught in the middle and she's worried I'm being too harsh because my mom is going through it. I feel like I'm being forced to choose between my future marriage and a person who will happily swallow my whole life if I let her. Am I the a-hole for holding this boundary even if it makes my mom's situation harder in the short term? You are not. You know your mom. This is the thing. You know your mother better than your fiance. She's you say she's a good person. She's trying to be the peacemaker because she knows, you're gonna get married. She's gonna be in your life. She probably want kids. This is gonna be the grandmother of her children. So she's just trying to keep the peace. But you know your mother best, okay? She's going to come in there and do some that potentially might break up your relationship, and your fiance might hate you and resent you. Hold your boundary. You said listen, as someone who loves their mama dearly, I lost her June of 2025, and I would take my mom in a heartbeat. However, my mother is not manipulative, okay, or was not manipulative, okay. So I would not have any issues, with my mama living with me, okay. And my mama cook, and she just amazing, okay. Sorry, that is not your experience, but again, you know your mother best, okay? So let her tell the family, oh, you don't want to let her stay there, all the things. Help her again, find a smaller apartment that you suggested or get a roommate, because once she comes in there, it is worse or going to get worse when you have to kick her out. Holding the boundary now might seem harsh short term, but it would be worse when you have to kick her out. Especially if she comes there and lives past 30 days and she get herself some little tenant or squatter's rights, you ain't getting rid of her then. Okay, let's see what the comments have to say. Hold a boundary. The fallout from you kicking her out a year from now would be much worse because we all know it won't just be a few weeks. I'm so happy you're standing up for yourself and your future wife. Do all you can for your mom, except giving her a home in your home. Good luck. That's the same thing I said. Someone else said this: I'm 60 and would never do this to my kids. She won't leave when you evict her. You'll be the bad guy. No good deed at all. Oh, that's good. That's a mom. Someone else says, I'm 66 and I wouldn't do this to my son either. Someone else said, I'm 74 and never had a son, but happy to live on my own regardless, and I still work full time. Oh, listen, OP, the only thing you should have done is when she talked about the Bible scripture about the son honoring, or, kids honoring their parents. You should have hit her with the Bible verse about leaving your family and cleaving. You're leaving and cleaving to your wife. You know what I'm saying? You should have hit her with that. I'm gonna leave it at that. All right. Okay, so the final story comes from r/comfort level pod. This one says, am I the a-hole for walking out when my boyfriend turned my boundaries into a family group activity? All right. I'm 27 female and my boyfriend Eli is 30 male. We've been together 3 years, live separately, but basically spend every other night at one another's place. He's charming, thoughtful, the guy who remembers you like extra napkins and keeps a spare phone charger for guests. His family is very close and very, I don't know, intentional. I'm in therapy for childhood stuff and anxiety, not because I'm broken, but because I want my brain to stop doing the worst case scenario Olympics. Eli knows this. I've shared some general things with him, like certain topics make me shut down, and that I need a minute before I can talk during conflict. Last month, Eli started pushing me to come to his family's Sunday reset. I thought it was just a normal meal, maybe board games, but he described it like a meeting. Everyone says that what they're struggling with, and the family supports them with feedback. I told him calmly, that sounds like my nightmare. I'm happy to see his family in normal settings, but I'm not doing a group vulnerability workshop. He said okay, but I could tell he thought I was being dramatic. This Sunday, I went to his mom's house anyway because it was his niece's birthday earlier in the day and they wanted to do dessert and gift low-key. It was fine at first. Then after cake, his mom Linda, late 50s, clinked a spoon on a glass and said, smiling, before everyone runs, we're doing a quick reset. Chairs literally got rearranged into a circle. I felt my stomach drop. Eli squeezed my hand and whispered, just listen, you don't have to share. I was already tense, but I stayed because I didn't want to be rude. People started going around saying things like, I've been short with my partner and I'm stressed about money. Then Eli's older sister turns to me and goes, Eli said you've been practicing boundaries. Do you want to share one? I laughed because I thought it was a joke, but everyone was looking at me like it was my turn in class. I said, no, thank you. I'm good. Linda said, still sweet, it's safe here. We're family. And then Eli, in the gentlest voice, goes, it might help if you name what you do when you feel criticized. Like you told me you go blank and then later you spiral. My face went hot. I hadn't used the word spiral with his family ever. I realized he's been telling them details. I said, Eli, why are you sharing my therapy language with your mom? He looked startled and goes, I'm not sharing secrets. I'm asking for support for us. Linda jumped in with, we all support each other, honey. If you want to be part of this family, we do hard conversations. Someone else said, avoidance is a trauma response. Like they were diagnosing me as entertainment, I felt small and angry at the same time. I stood up and said, my boundary is I'm not doing this in a circle and I'm not being analyzed. Eli whispers, please don't make a scene, which made me laugh again because he set the scene. I grabbed my bag and left. Since then, Eli has texted me that I embarrassed him, that I could have just sat quietly, that his mom is hurt because she was trying to include me. His sister sent a long message about how I'm resisting growth. My friends say he violated trust by making my private coping stuff into a family discussion. I feel guilty because I did walk out in the middle, and I know that looked dramatic, but I also feel like if I stayed, I'd be agreeing that my emotions are a group project. Am I the a-hole? Girl, no. Forget his family, okay? And them trying to help. First of all, he crossed a big boundary by just telling his family about all your stuff, even though you asked him not to. You did say you didn't want to be a part of the circle, and all of this was just like forced upon you. You are not the a-hole. And as somebody who has anxiety myself, I can understand what your body was going through. So in my opinion, you handled that very calmly. If not, there's no telling what you would have done, okay? And you might need a therapy session after this. Will this end your relationship? Probably. Probably will. And then I don't understand though, like, they're not professional therapists or, anything like that. But to sit there and act like they are, even though they don't know the full details, and from the little that he told them, to be analyzing you and be like, oh, this is a safe space. Oh, this is this. And they didn't even talk to you prior and be like, hey, this is what we're going to do. Ask if you want to be excluded. None of that. They're just like, okay, sit here, squeeze your hand, all the things. And yeah, you need to share because you're going to be a part of the family. Girl, I'm not a part of the family yet. 3 years, there's no ring. We live separately. I'm not a part of the family. Leave me alone. Eli is the biggest culprit here. But his mother and his sister, they need to leave. I'm just saying. This one made me a little angry. And my words coming out like venting. Sorry. All right, comment. I don't typically go the Reddit route of breakup immediately, but I think this is a situation that may actually call for it. His family does this as a weekly exercise, so until you participate, you'll always be an outsider. How would that look in marriage and raising children? This is one of those things where you have to be accepting and willing to be a willing participant or leave and remove them. He's already crossed your boundary before you even knew it. He phrases your issues as they're his too, making them okay to share. Someone else says, what a family of twats. Move on and be grateful. They can emotionally circle jerk each other until the cows come home. There are ways to do guided group sessions, but this ain't it. Amen. All right. Another one says, you know what? I agree. This is a performative circle jerk, and they are self-deluded twats. If this were truly a safe space to share your thoughts and feelings, they would have respected a polite no when you said you weren't comfortable sharing or participating. They'd understand that healing is a deeply personal journey, that there isn't one right way to navigate that journey, and that it's okay to keep something so personal totally private and just for yourself. They'd be appalled by the fact that their son used them to triangulate and overstep your boundaries. They'd be reaching out utterly mortified to apologize for putting you on the spot, prying and overstepping. If they're not, it's a pretty clear indicator that this isn't about mental health at all. It's a coercive entitlement to private information disguised as woke, therapeutic support and care, and it's fully intended to undermine the very thing it pretends to prioritize. I think the fact that he's more worried about you embarrassing him by making a scene than he is about the fact that he had his family made you uncomfortable enough to leave or repairing his relationship with you now just reveals what this is really about. I like that. I like that comment. Somebody else says, agreed. And him telling her she could have just sat there quietly instead of walking out. No, she couldn't, because him and his family wouldn't take no for an answer and kept prying. So not the a-hole. I think hard about this relationship. No, last comment says, I wouldn't make doing the circle thing the deal breaker. What would be a deal breaker for me would be not even discussing with me that you were going to drop this on my lap in front of your whole family. Yep. Lord, makes sense. Well, OP, I hope you make the right decision for you, okay? We over here reading the story on Reddit cannot. We're just here to judge, like myself. But all the best, okay? Now, subscribe if you have not yet subscribed to my channel. Get me to at least 100 subscribers, all right? Right now, I'm at 63, I believe, filming this. So, yeah, all right? And I'll see you guys in the next one. Doodles.